What's going on, everybody? It's your boy C-Zar, and we are talking about the Bitcoin dominance today. We're going to be doing an in-depth analysis on the BTC.D chart, and if that sounds good to you, hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and let's get started, okay? No more dillying of the dally. If we're looking at this here, if we're looking at this here, you can see we're on the weekly time frame, and the dominance has tanked from a relative high this cycle of about 66% to now 58%. And while that doesn't seem like that big of a jump, right, 66 to 58, that's a huge jump in crypto, man. That's a huge jump for a multi-trillion dollar asset like Bitcoin to lose that much dominance in this course of time, right? Alt season typically begins whenever we see this kind of dumping happen, right? I did just make a video recently talking about what I think the average expectations for alt season are, but here I want to just kind of explain what signs we see whenever alt season is kicking off, right? And for that, I want to pull up the others chart as well. So I'm going to compare the others chart here, which is in the red, to the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is in the candlesticks. Okay, so if we're looking at the dominance, and let's just overlay this here, okay? You can see that the dominance, come on now, started to drop here back in 2017, okay? It's February 2017. This is where dominance really started to tank, and altcoins had been rallying already, right? We saw the dominance coming down a little bit. Altcoins had been rallying, doing their thing, whatever, but we really took off at an unprecedented rate once the dominance tanked, okay? And then dominance came back. Altcoins were still rallying, it looks like, but dominance, Bitcoin probably went up a little bit more. And then during this little finale phase right here, where the altcoins saw their finale, we did pump up to all-time highs right there. That's when the dominance started to tank again. We bottomed out, and that marked the beginning of the bear market for alt seasons, okay? Once the dominance bottomed out, okay? Same thing in the last cycle that we had. Once Bitcoin dominance really started to come down, which is here, that's whenever this finale phase of the alt season really began. And then as we got to the lows, that's when alt season was at an end, okay? Began here, at an end here. We did continue. We did see higher highs across the board, but I wouldn't really call that alt season. I would just call that a kind of like crab market moving sideways, and ultimately the bear market began as dominance started to creep up, right? And dominance, the Bitcoin dominance here, the difference between what we saw last cycle and this cycle is that it grew at a very steady but slow and meticulous pace. This allowed for altcoins to not get completely wrecked like they did last time. Now, the dominance was growing, therefore Bitcoin was outperforming the average altcoin, but still here on the other chart, you can see we still had higher lows and higher highs. We still had growth consistently across the board. It's just not as much in comparison to Bitcoin. However, now the dominance has begun to tank, and altcoins have only just begun moving up, okay? If we compare what we've seen in the prior two cycles, okay, I'm going to delete all the chicken scratch real quick and just take the main points here. If we compare what we've seen in the other two cycles, right, here, whenever the dominance began to tank to the low, that took about 45 weeks. We're on a weekly time frame here. I don't think this alt season is going to last 45 weeks. Call me pessimistic, but I don't think it's going to last 45 weeks. Here, last cycle, whenever the dominance topped off to where it bottomed out, where we saw that first kind of low, where really the alt season ended, that was about 20 weeks. Call me optimistic, but I think we might see more than 20 weeks. Something in between might be what we see. And it could be a lesser amount of time that we see this alt season last, but I think that it will last a little bit longer. If we're looking at this here, as of now, alt season's really been underway already for about the past 7 weeks now. Some altcoins have started to rally. Ethereum, namely, has started to rally, right? We've seen new all-time highs in XRP. Various cryptos are breaking out of their consolidation phases and looking like they want to move higher, but not everything yet. And that's typically how alt season begins, is we get these rumblings, as I like to call them, right? Dogecoin starts to do well, Ethereum, XRP. You get your Solanas, whatever your top cryptos are that start to do well. If we were to bump this out to 20 weeks like last cycle, 20 weeks would put us in November of this year. Again, I don't think we go to 45 weeks, but I don't think we see a 20-week cycle. I think that this lasts longer. And the reason why, I kind of have a thought. I think that this cycle will be a little bit more meticulous on the way down. It won't be a quick flush like this. We won't see as many iterations here where you come down, you come up, you come down, you come up, you come down. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it will be a little bit more swift, but it won't be as swift. We won't just get a consistent drop for like months at a time. And all in all, I think that'll promote, as far as the time perspective goes, a longer alt season. So I think we do see something between 20 and 45. What would that be if we just went right in the middle there? Let's just say 32 weeks. Okay, 32 weeks might put us at, I don't know, the beginning of 2026, and it could be. Or sorry, 32 weeks would be. That was 30 weeks. I want 32 weeks. Let's see. If you guys hear that high squeaky voice, that's just my daughter singing. That put us out in February, actually. Maybe it's February. Maybe it's a little bit longer. Maybe we go to March. I mean, hell, if we were to do 45 weeks, that puts us out to May. In all fairness, looking at it like this, I actually could see us going to 45 weeks, but that'd be the longest. That'd be the absolute longest that I see us doing it. And in which case, maybe we do see a more methodical kind of crash and then consolidate, crash and then consolidate. Maybe we do see that happen. I don't know. But that'd be the longest. That'd be the absolute longest I could see this all season lasting. At least, I would think something that's over 20 weeks, in which case sometime in January or February could happen. So we should continue to drop. I myself believe that the alt markets, or the dominance, the Bitcoin dominance itself, will not go below these lows here. I believe that it'll drop, maybe to 40% at the lowest, 47% at least, something that interacts with these prior highs, but probably goes just below there. Something that interacts with these prior lows, but it's probably just above there. So something in that range there. Okay, so we've gone over the kind of basics of the dominance. Now I want to get into some stuff that maybe most people don't talk about, okay? Which really, for the sake of this video, I probably should have started with, right, to retain views, but whatever. I'm just going off of what I think makes the most sense. We have to have the bread and butter first, and now we can get into the condiments, okay? Looking at the weekly time frame here on the RSI, you can see here that the RSI is oversold as of this week. We haven't been oversold in quite some time. In fact, the last time we got oversold was in September of 2021. But I don't want to compare this to this, because this is different, right? This we got oversold after being deeply in the oversold zone, coming back out and coming back down. This is the first time we got oversold in years on the Bitcoin dominance. So when did we have a time like that before? It would have been here. That was the first time in years. 2020, it had been since 2018. If not, that was a bounce, maybe 2017, that we had been oversold. So this might be more comparable in a sense than this is. So let's go off of that. What happened? Because we weren't oversold here, but we got oversold right there. What happened from here on? Okay, from there on, dominance started to taper off. Okay, altcoins, and damn, I shouldn't have deleted the others chart. Let's see. Let's go to others. Bring that back on here. I think I did it wrong. Let me see. New price scale. There we go. And then logarithmic it. Make it logarithmic. Altcoins here weren't on their finale phase, but they were done kind of moving sideways. And they were at the precipice. We had the COVID crash, but they're at the precipice of starting this next phase higher, right? We started to really rally and then getting into that finale phase there, okay? That's what happened whenever we last got oversold. The first time that we got oversold over here, right? We did move down at a much more methodical pace. Here we kind of just moved down very fast and abruptly. So I think we're going to have a little bit of a different reaction. But just to give it a kind of comparison, same thing here with the others chart, right? If we're looking at this now, we haven't really been in a bull market over the past year for the average altcoin. We've been moving sideways. So here, in comparison to that again, where we were moving sideways, and then this was the beginning of that alt season rally. It wasn't the immediate beginning of it, but the rumblings of it we started to see, right? Other than that COVID crash, I think if we didn't have COVID crash, you probably would have continued to move higher like we did afterwards, right? I think that's what we're getting here. Minus the COVID crash, we're getting that here. Better economic conditions, right? Inflation's under control. We're looking to cut rates. We're not increasing rates. Quantitative tightening is not a thing. Conflicts around the world are getting settled, right? We're looking good. We're in good shape right now. And I think that we will see growth similar to maybe what we could compare here. And again, the RSI, maybe it wasn't even oversold right there. It was oversold on this next one, but still, tomato, whatever. We still went down a little bit. Could we come down here? Sure, but again, that was the COVID crash. I think if it wasn't for that, we would have continued to grow, actually. The MACD here, starting to cross below the zero. The last time that we crossed below the zero was over here, and that was in the peak. Look at the MACD here, right? Starting to cross below the zero. The last time that we really crossed below the zero, I guess, was over here actually in August of 2022, and that was whenever we had a little bit of a reprieve. That was during our bear market relief rally for altcoins. So that doesn't really count in my opinion. But this was also coming up from the bottom, different circumstances. Here we're coming from the top down. This was coming from the bottom up and then back down, right? So I would say this is probably more comparable over here, or even this over here. But that would be May of 2020. Right, whenever we crossed, it was like May of 2020. And again, that was at the beginning, not the finale phase, but at the beginning of this alt season, the very beginning after the COVID crash. Okay, so that actually goes pretty well with my theory that this RSI, even though we had the COVID crash afterwards and it came down, that we'd be more comparable to this point in the others chart where we start to rally again. The pink line is the average altcoin performance. This is the Bitcoin dominance. Okay, this would be more comparable to this time frame, and I think the MACD confirms that because we're starting to cross below the zero here after being above it for years. Here we're starting to cross below the zero after being above it for years. Very similar circumstances, and alt season looks like it's starting off. It's kicking off. We look at the stochastics, they're oversold. We've been oversold a couple times this cycle, but the difference here being that the orange line is actually deeper in the oversold than it's been since years ago. You guessed it, years ago. And when was the last time that we saw a cross below like this after not having been oversold for quite some time? You know, it might have been here. Might have been over here, which is a little bit earlier, but we still didn't really cross down too far, did we? We were still finding support right there with the orange line, so probably here even. And that was, again, in the midst of these beginnings of the alt season, not the full finale phase. So what I'm trying to paint here, the picture that I'm trying to paint is that alt season is beginning now, but we're not seeing that full finale phase yet. Okay, the finale phase is likely going to happen in months from now. We're going to see it happen months from now. And actually, if we can compare, I wonder if we can see this right now. How long would it be? You know, from here where it began, that was March of 2020. The finale phase was in December. So March to December, that's the 3rd month to the 12th month. What is that, 9 months? 9 months from now, I don't think it's going to be 9 months. I think it'd be less time. So we could throw that out the window. But something months away nonetheless. What about back over here? What if we see like similar results? You know, the first time that you'd been oversold in quite a while here. Alt season was beginning over here. First time you got oversold, alt season was beginning here, but the finale started here. That was June, and it didn't happen until February the next year. That was about another 7 or 8 months. Dude, you guys, could alt season happen? Could the finale phase be happening in like late or mid 2026? I mean, that'd be nuts. Because just by that comparison, that's what we've seen. Here's my contestation to that. Okay, why I would think that no, we're not going to see alt season, the finale, take place in like 7 to 9 months from now. I think it's going to happen probably. What if it's August? The finale phase is probably going to happen in 4 to 6 months from now, and then last until like February to April, right, or May maybe. The reason why is because this alt season has been postponed for so much longer. So I think this in-between phase where the alt season begins versus where the finale phase comes, I think that in-between phase is going to be lessened because our commencement of the alt season has actually been prolonged. Does that make sense? So all in all I'm trying to say here is what's exciting is we're just in the beginning of the alt season, right? We haven't really even started. The finale is probably going to happen months away from now, right? So we've got months right now, between now and probably the end of the year, where things are going to start to come to life. And then things really get crazy. We see some absolute euphoric excitement going into the end of the year 2025 and the beginning of the year 2026, maybe even till like May of 2026. Crazy stuff's going to happen. The important thing here to note is that we've got a lot of time left in the cycle. We are nowhere near selling territory, right? The worst thing you could do is lose all your money. But the second worst thing would be to have an opportunity like this with crypto where you can sit and wait for the money to come and you mess it up by selling too early. Don't panic sell. Don't be itching to take profits left and right at every single turn that we get, okay? If you're patient, you're at least going to have exposure in the markets. If you're eager to sell, maybe you time the markets right, maybe you don't, and then you put yourself in an emotional position. Avoid all that noise, and really I would think just wait to, not financial advice, not a financial advisor, but wait to sell until it's the end of the year, if not likely the beginning of 2026, sometime in Q2 even is what I would think. I've got nothing else. I hope you guys took something away from this video. Thank you all for being here. I'll see you on the next one. Take care of yourselves, all right? Bye-bye.